Okay, go ahead and say 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay, so talking about the lumber company and the contracts. So
well, I think what I mentioned was about why when I met in Nixon and
yeah,
and at the same time, at that time I also had just started a lumber company. And I'd never been in the lumber business before, so in the Western Addition they call it, well, the Fillmore.
What is
the Fillmore District is a section in San Francisco.
Okay.
Called the Fillmore District, which is in Western Addition is the western part of the city. They call it, and so it was the same place where I picketed the stores in the 50s. In the 40s when I picketed. I told you about picketing.
What was the beginning of your?
The movie houses and the Petaluma. Yeah. Well, in the 70s they had started building some projects, housing projects under the Housing and Urban Development. One of the housing projects, several of them was, of the several, one was the Martin Luther King housing development, which was 120 units, and the other one was the Marcus Garvey. And all of these were, like Martin Luther King and then Marcus, various leaders in historic and the black history.
Yeah.
And so the Martin Luther King project was to be built by a white company. And the community decided that it should be built by a black contractor. And so they formed an organization called the Liberation, the Church of Liberation led it to make sure that they had a black contractor build Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey a housing project, and to use black contractors and subcontractors to build it. So at the time I was in the landscape business, and so I got the plans and specs for both of those projects, and I had a lumber takeoff for because I thought they didn't have any lumber suppliers, and there were no lumber suppliers in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I decided I would try to be a lumber supplier, and so I had a takeoff, what they call a lumber takeoff, and it cost me $600, which was pretty big.
Yeah, it is pretty big.
So anyway, I had been doing landscaping, and I met with the contractor, the black contractor they brought in from New York. His name was Winston A. Burnett. And he had his project manager, whose name was Carl Pope. And so I got to know Carl. And then Carl, I had met a young lady. Her name was Kelly. He wanted to go to lunch with her on a Saturday. So in the meantime, I had submitted my bid, my quotation for the lumber, which was $160,000. So he called me up and he said, "Hey, Jerry, I need someone to watch the office while I go out to lunch with Kelly. Could you give me a hand and watch the office?" I said, "Oh, sure." So I went over. It was over on Turk Street, and so when he got ready to leave, he said, "No, hey, listen, I don't want you going into those file cabinets because I have those lumber quotes in there." Well, I had already given my lumber quote, and so I said, "Oh no, I wouldn't do anything like that." And so anyway, he left, and I went in the file cabinet. And so I looked at the bids. There were about 5 of them in there, and my bid was in there too, and mine was the second low bidder,
Yeah.
and Boise Cascade was the lowest bidder, and so, and it was like my bid was 160,000, and theirs was about 159. You know,
It's
so
almost exactly the
yeah,
same.
yeah, right. So I dropped mine 158,000.
That's funny.
So when he came back, he said, "You didn't go with never." I said, "Oh no, I didn't."
Did you got the project?
So then about Monday I get a call, and he called and said, "Hey, Winston is coming out, and he wants you to meet him on Wednesday. So he wants to go over your bid, and he wants to talk to you about it." So I met him at 2:00 on a Wednesday. It was vivid. I still remember.
Yeah.
And so I said, and he has my quote, and my company, my landscape company was called Seaview, Seaview Landscape. And so he said, "What do you call this? This don't look like no lumber company." He said, "You have a letterhead."
Yeah.
I said, "That's a letterhead." He said, "Yeah, what is it? That ain't no letterhead." I said, "Yeah, it is." I said, "But what's about the price?" He said, "Well, your price is all right, but can you deliver?" I said, "Well, I wouldn't have given you that if I couldn't deliver." So he said, so we talked back and forth, and he said, "Listen, nigga, I'm going to give you this contract, but don't you F up on me." So that was my first contract.
That's funny.
Yeah. So what was so interesting about it, I went to the guy I got the lumber quotes from, was Mike DeSimone from Channel Lumber Company. And so I said, "Hey, Mike, I got the contract. I want $10,000, and you can have it." He says, "What do you mean?" He said, and he had on the wall the black hand. Mike DeSimone, he was Italian. He said, "You know, I know about it. People trying to get over on me." You know, and he says, "No, I ain't supposed to be giving." I say, "Hey, you want it? You want the contract?" I say, "Hills Lumber Company, I got a price for him. They'll take it." And
so
then
you
he showed me the black hand. But I say, "Hey, let me show you." So I went to go in my wallet. I said, "I got my Black Panther card." So, so we came to an agreement, and he gave me the $10,000. So anyway, that was my first lumber contract.
Yeah.
And from then on, I opened a lumber yard, and I had a huge lumber yard out in and I hired for the first time black doing trucks. I bought a new truck. I had black truck drivers, black forklift, black lumbermen.
Is everyone
Yeah,
black?
right. Yeah, right. No, that was a white and Hispanic.
Oh, nice.
So
very interracial.
yeah. So I have photos of it. But anyway, it went well.
And this was in the
I
70s?
named it Domingo Allison Lumber Company.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was Domingo and then Allison was Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
Her name was Sarah Allison.
So you named it after your
Yeah,
kids?
yeah, Domingo Allison Lumber Company. So I supplied lumber we did it for over 5 years. Then the lumber went, then the industry went dead, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then the union tried to squeeze me.
They did? How?
And then, wanted me to hire union.
Oh, yeah.
And I already had, blacks wasn't in the union.
Oh, okay. So,
So,
you're like, why would
No,
I?
and if they wanted to they have to take my drivers who were not union.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind but paying it, but they had to take my people I had.
Yeah. And they
So-
wouldn't?
But then I later found out the company that had loaned me money
Mm-hmm.
called Opto,
Mm-hmm.
Opportunity Capital,
Mm-hmm.
was tied in with the union.
Mm-hmm.
So then they pulled my line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
So then things got really rough. I didn't
Yeah.
know all that was going on. But
Yeah.
anyway, then the mills, the lumber went down. So
Uh-huh.
we had to close the lumber yard and we became a broker.
A broker.
Yeah,
And this was all during the 70s?
yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, in the meantime, in order to get, it wasn't just about me.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure that all the other projects, and there were about 15 of them, would hire blacks contractors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, so we had,
that's a big deal.
yeah, for the
Mhm.
first time. And the unfortunate thing is, in 1975, when all this was going on, the San Francisco School District did an earthquake,
Mm-hmm.
and it was $40 million earthquake proof.
Yeah.
So we said we wanted to have included in the school district 25% utilization
Mm-hmm.
of minorities and women.
Oh, wow.
And so we picketed.
Uh-huh.
We went to all the school boards and had used confrontation at the school boards.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got them to adopt the 25%.
Nice.
And at the time,
Yeah.
the only people at the city and the school district contractors was 5 white contractors.
Mm-hmm.
That they were the ones who were getting all the work. One of them was Nibby's, other was Amarosa. And so we changed all that.
Mm-hmm. You made
Yeah,
some of them.
then Nibby and Amarosa had joint ventures with blacks.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Wow.
but that was
yeah.
now today, in 2016, all of those companies, Nibby, Amarosa, Winston it was Williams and Burroughs, who are now, they have another name,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 others, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're, 3 of them or 4 of them is in the top 400 contractors in the nation.
Really?
And all of the black contractors and Asian,
Mm-hmm.
none of them.
What do you mean?
Well, most of them are not in business.
Oh, yeah.
That we had them got contracts.
Yeah.
They're not.
They're no longer.
They're either now in existence
Mm-hmm.
or the few that remain. And I'm trying to remember the one that a plumbing, electrical company.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that has to do with?
If they're doing $2 million.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that those companies now have grown to be the largest companies in the nation.
Are these the?
And part of it, they got fat on the minority business programs
Yeah.
because they did it right.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
They grew,
Yeah.
but the black contractors, the Asian contractors, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So today the problem still exists
What problem?
of utilization of black contractors
Mm-hmm.
and black contractors as a part of the construction industry.
You don't think there's a?
No, they're not. No, it's still we still
Yeah.
back in the 40s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what does that mean? If you look at the wealth gap between whites and blacks, the disparity discrepancy is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That means that black wealth, black has not accumulated. They
Yeah.
lost.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
with the recession
Mm-hmm.
of 2008-9, it made it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Widen the gap between
so,
the rich
yeah.
and the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So for me, that's a concern to me.
Yeah.
As an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
I still work on those
Mm-hmm.
issues.
Do you think that as time goes on, it'll improve?
Well, I don't know.
You don't know.
I assume it will.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will, but certain measures have to be taken,
What kind of measures do you think?
and the measures have to be, in a large part, one on the part of the blacks, to be more inclusive
Mm-hmm.
and united.
Mm-hmm.
When I say inclusive, blacks are not necessarily inclusive, so that they don't look to see, I got this contract,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if I worked with this other black, I can build it,
Mm-hmm.
I can joint venture.
Yeah.
See
So have to unify more.
what the white contractor does, and the reason these people are bigger than the white contractor, because they may have a contract, but then they say, wait a minute, I need to joint venture with old Joe over here, even though he's my competitor, because I want to joint venture with him. I don't want to use up all my resources.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if I joint venture with it, I don't have to use all my resources.
Mm-hmm.
Only have to, and then that means I can expand
Yeah.
and do another job,
Uh-huh.
and then do another job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm not using up all my resources on one job.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean? Can you develop that concept with the black contractors?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So you think that that's what has to be done?
oh, definitely.
Unify.
But when you look at the associations of the Associated General Contractors, you never see a individual contractors who are a member of the Associated General Contractor going to the city of San Francisco and say, you caused me problems
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't pay me and you did this.
Mm-hmm.
No, they have a director, they have someone in the Associated who will go and tell the city what they did.
Right.
That's not true with the black contractor.
Yeah.
They usually have to go, even though they have association.
Uh-huh.
So the black contractor is being fed. I mean, their association is pretty much a sham
Mm-hmm.
because the few and the
And so this is
Yeah.
that's basically what you did in
Yeah,
the
right.
70s?
yeah. So what we did was, we formed the Black Business Association,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't let our people go and deal. We dealt with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the members in the Black Business Association said they needed money,
Yeah.
I went to the Wells Fargo Bank
Got
and
the
said,
money.
we don't meet you on the golf course, we don't associate with you,
Mm.
you don't know our problem, we want to meet with you and your board.
Yeah.
So we met with the board of Wells Fargo, and we brought 10 of our members and said they need a line of credit. And when we left out of there, we got a line of credit.
Oh, nice.
For either line of credit or loan.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. That's a success.
So that's what the association and the big problem with that exists within the black
Yeah.
is the lack of commitment on the association.
So what were you
Yeah.
doing in
Yeah.
your free time when you weren't doing all this advocate work?
I was running after
working?
Valerie.
How did you meet Val?
Huh?
How did you meet Big Val?
I was at the restaurant Perry's, over on Union Street,
Uh-huh.
and my ex-wife Lorna and Valerie came in because it was her birthday, and Valerie they were living on Cumberland Street,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't know each other at the time.
Yeah.
Valerie was living there, and my ex was living.
Or they
So
lived
they
together?
met each other. Yeah, they met each other
Uh-huh.
there in the same, and they became friends.
Oh, so you
Then
met.
she introduced
Oh.
her to me, and then when Valerie had a birthday, she took her over to Perry's on Union Street,
Uh-huh.
and that was where it was my hangout, Perry's.
And that's
So
when you met her.
then Lorna, my ex, introduced
Mm-hmm.
and said it was her birthday. So I sent her a bottle of Blanc de Blanc champagne. And then Lorna invited me to the party that she was giving for her.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, I had to fight her off. She always was after me.
Who?
Valerie.
Oh, you had to fight her off.
I got my gown in.
All right. So after the 70s, what was life like for you in the 80s? What did you do throughout the 80s?
Well, 80s. In 1984, we formed a small business.
Mm-hmm.
After we got out of lumber company. By that time, Valerie and I became.
You were married?
No, we hadn't got married then, but we started living together.
Oh, okay.
And then she helped with the lumber company. And then after the lumber thing went sour,
Mm-hmm.
we then went into the publishing business.
Mm-hmm.
And because we used to get all our information from the Daily Pacific Builder, which was a McGraw-Hill
Mm-hmm.
publication. And so we looked at it and said, hey, we know what the minority business and women business need, number one, and number two, the Daily Pacific Builder, McGraw-Hill, was too high.
Mm-hmm.
But we could produce and provide the information cheaply
Mm-hmm.
and more efficiently, and which we did.
Yeah.
So when we first published, we had, within a month or two, we had over 600 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them was white, you know, and they said,
Yeah.
oh, this is what, and they told McGraw-Hill, this is the way you ought to do things.
Yeah.
Really. And then we got a letter
Mm-hmm.
and calls from the McGraw-Hill
Mm-hmm.
out of Washington, Seattle, saying, we don't want you using our information because we were subscribing to their paper.
Okay. So you were
But
basing your
they
paper
started
off.
accusing, no, they were
Oh.
accusing us of filching, plagiarizing their
Oh,
information,
really?
right? And
Uh-huh.
told us we had to sign a contract. I ain't signing no damn contract. You know, so,
Yeah.
you know, this, we paid for the paper.
Yeah.
So what we did do, we used the information we got out of the paper to contact people,
Uh-huh.
you know. But we got from the same place they got the information. We found out that's where we went and got the information.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the information was from public
So you just
sources.
got it from the same sources,
Yeah, right.
and that's why it was
Yeah,
similar.
but we had made such an impact.
Mm-hmm. You had?
Yeah, well, yeah,
How? How so?
because of the way our paper was presented, the
Mhm.
cost.
Yeah. So more people subscribe
yeah,
to yours
yeah.
rather than.
And we thought, you know, we would have more black, Asian,
Mm-hmm.
but we had more white subscribers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we realized there was another aspect to it,
Mm-hmm.
that the contractors, under the requirements of affirmative action, had to find black and minority contractors, women contractors.
Yeah.
So we had built a database, and
Mhm.
so then they asked us to help them find it.
Okay. So at this point,
So,
it had been like
Yeah.
20 years since the civil rights about, and how
Well,
did
this was 1984 when
Yeah.
we formed, so we still.
it still like suffered from. But how
Yeah.
how was it like looking at like how was the social aspect of like racism and at that point in time?
Well,
Like how did you feel about it? Like, because wasn't there had to be a lot of change
Well, a
since
part of the problem is-
segregation.
not so much racism as structural factors. You know, you're dealing in in an industry that historically there's a structural development, and it is, and that structure came about with exclusion historically. But it doesn't mean that they are actively preventing you. It means that the structure prevents you more than anything. So that in order to level the playing field, you have to find ways to penetrate that structure.
Right.
You know, and how to information flow so that all segments of the business community are able to get timely and pertinent information. And that is what our objective was, and still is. So now the question is, even with all of the associations, the Black Association, Black Chambers of Commerce, whether or not they are good delivery systems for Black, Hispanics, or women business. And my view now is they are not.
They're not.
No, because they're top heavy, bureaucratic, and more self-perpetuation.
Yeah, rather than.
So what we ought to be are members of the Associated General Contractors where all information is. So if you setting yourself in the hood, there ain't no money in the hood.
Yeah.
Right? The money is downtown.
Yeah.
And the associated, the people who issue contracts are not in the San Francisco African American Chamber of Commerce. They are in the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce downtown on Montgomery.
You're right.
So the question is, where should you go
Yeah.
to become to level the playing field?
Yeah.
So
That is
now
interesting.
my view is we have to change our course and not so much build a black entity,
Yeah.
a minority entity, but
For all my. all
that become a
minorities.
part of the existing, where the money is, the wealth is, and more from within and not from without.
Right.
You know, so that's a new, for me, that's a new tack.
Interesting.
Yeah. So so that started from the 70s, where I was building the Black Business Association and the Black Unity,
Yeah.
and what I now call ABLE, Asian Black Latino Enterprises.
Is it still around today?
What?
The ABLE?
Well, I just formed a LLC,
Okay.
but I'm having second thoughts
Why?
because I'm saying I started going into the working within the larger chamber. We call it the White Chamber, and I'm getting more traction there,
Yeah.
and I see more opportunities for Asians, and not so much Asian, but Blacks and Latino.
Yeah.
So, and I'm now saying to the people in the San Francisco Black Chamber of Commerce, go to the San Francisco, the White Chamber.
Interesting.
You know, and so things change.
Yeah, they do.
You know, economics change, and you can't forever cast yourself
Yeah.
in a mold you know, and that may have been good for another period.
Right.
So in the 80s, we learned a lot. In the 90s, what were gains we made in the 80s or in the 70s, based on the Supreme Court decision, they wiped it out. So in affirmative action, which caused huge gains in the industry, and then the Supreme Court decision began to curtail the affirmative action.
Right.
And the rulings, you know, like in California, they had 209.
209?
Yeah, which was an initiative that was sponsored by the Associated General Contractor
Yeah.
that prevented any public agency from listing you as a African American or Latino or so.
So
You
you
can
weren't
no longer do that.
you weren't identified by your race, but
No.
rather by
Yeah.
who you
So,
were.
and
That was in the
then
90s?
it could, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that has a huge effect on the industry.
Yeah.
On,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
you can either repeal 209
Mhm.
or you find other ways to deal with it. And then you have to begin to say, why?
Why?
There's a, you know,
Yeah.
we don't want to go over old ground. What's
Uh-huh.
up? We need to find something different, do something different.
Mhm.
So you need allies.
Yeah.
So you don't need all these black chambers of commerce because they're feeding on themselves.
Mhm.
So you need to get into the AGC, you need to get into the white chambers and become members and
Yeah.
influence from
Yeah.
within.
Uh-huh.
Because,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
All right.
alright. So lesson learned as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm. That's what happened. So like the 90s was when you really.
Well, it's more like 2000, 2000, that I began to think differently.
Oh, okay. All right.
And know what because you say, what do you learn from your history?
Yeah.
You got to learn something.
Yeah. What have you learned
You
from
can't-
your?
You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Uh huh.
Because what do they say, insanity?
Yeah. It will just repeat itself.
expecting different results.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm tired of being insane, so I won't.
I get that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good.
Mhm.
I think we have enough.
Yeah.
We made it to the 2000s.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did. Mhm.
Yeah. So if you need something on the phone, you can call me.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Mhm.
What?
Future.
We kind of talked about the future.
Yeah. We're saying, where do we go from here?
What do you? Yeah, we did.
I said, lesson learned. What I've been, my past is, I'm saying I'm rethinking. What do we do from 2017, 16? That's how I was saying. I'm learning new lessons.
Mhm.
I'm learning from my past. I am full of there are things to think about.
What do you think about?
Yeah, where do you go and what do you do?
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, no, I don't want to keep creating another black chamber of commerce or spend my time. I want to go in the white
Should be
chamber
one commerce for
Yeah, right.
everyone. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
and say, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And then when you realize it, for example, we met with the Chamber of Commerce. I didn't tell you that. We met with the Chamber of Commerce. They're so happy to have us.
There were.
They want to have every member of the black chamber become a member free of the
Of the white chamber.
white chamber.
Why are they so happy?
Because they want us in the
That's good. That's progressive. Yeah, that's progressive.
Yeah.
That's good. What year was this?
this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, really.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, I thought
So-
this was.
No, and so one of the members of our chamber, he's now on the board
Of the,
of the white chamber.
Oh, good. Mhm.
I don't like to call it. I call it
The chamber.
downtown chamber.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, and really, they are so ready and happy to work. And it's time that we begin as blacks to change our attitude.
Right.
You know, and say, you know, again, as I say, you know, it's insane. You keep doing the same thing over and over again and not getting the results and getting the same results.
Definitely.
So why you keep going around complaining?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and only the few in the chambers, there are 28 chambers, black chambers in San Francisco, in California. 28.
Mhm.
And the business populate, they only of what is it, 2 million of farms in California. We only 6% of those. So we're saying, hey, yeah. Now just a minute. And so you say, what are the gross receipts?
Mhm.
They're pittance. So what do? You don't keep doing the same damn thing over and over again.
No, you have to change. You have to
Yeah.
look at history, assess, and
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
She gave me the sign.
Right.
Madam, Valerie, were you signaling to me? Where is it?
It's right there. Right here.
What are you trying to tell me?
No, I
Wind it up?
right here.
I think we're good. I think we're done.
No,
One more thing.
Oh, what? Oh.
What
What?
is it?
Oh, Obama.
Oh, we don't talk about Obama. Why?
Bleep that.
Yeah,
What do you think about Obama?
I think Obama has done the best he could
Mhm.
under the circumstances.
Mhm.
And I think